Hello everybody, and welcome to another night of Century Age of Ashes. Normally, it would be Community Squad night, however, I decided to switch things up this time around. We're going to be talking Century's 4 classes. You might remember I've done a tips and tricks video before, but that was before the Stormrazor's release. Now we're going to do some gameplay after the Stormrazor's release, and go over some of the stuff that I do to stay alive in Century, and hopefully go through some gameplay for you guys to check out. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to send them to me on the Twitch chat, and for those of you catching me on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment on the video. I try to check out my comments fairly frequently, and I would love to help out any way I can. This game kind of has a bit of a learning curve. I totally get that. It's a bit scary, there's a lot of crazy good people and veterans that have been around a long time, and then a lot of newbies, so you never really know what you're getting yourself into. But I am happy to help, and we're gonna start in just a second. Give me un momento. Let's check out what's new in the shop. Ah, I forget, it's Tuesday, it's not Wednesday. Sad face. So all we got are the daily offers. I haven't been able to get anything really interesting in the shop for a while. But I guess we'll see come tomorrow if there's anything good. I already have my perfect icon, so I don't think I need to pick these up. I don't really need these emblems, but you know what? They're kind of nifty, so I'm gonna pick them up. Cause I can. Cause I can! And then we go over to our profile here. Can check out the banners. I've had the same banner for an eternity. What is this? Oh. I didn't even realize I had this one. Well, it's kind of nifty. But forever, I will love the purple and black and blue ones. I wish they had just straight up purple and black, but I totally get it. I get it. I want to release the best stuff first day. Hopefully in the future we'll get to see some of that. I do have this fancy banner here, but I don't like the Fire Legion logo. I like this one. I like the puppers. And of course there's icons, and we got our backgrounds going on. Let me see here. Yes, I got the one I wanted. Yeah. But the fancy banner is such a pretty purple. It is a pretty purple. However, it is also gold, and my aesthetic, at least for Century, is purple and black, if possible. Not purple and gold. Purple and black. I was in the middle of being chased and you ruined it. Well, you see, I saw you being very wiggly, and then I saw you using Gus, and I was like, I take offense to that. So I threw a Drake Piercer in your face. Anyways, welcome. So, a lot of the times I get pinged in the Sentry Discord. If you're not a part of the Sentry Discord, first of all, check it out. Highly recommend it, just to keep up with what's going on with the game. But I get pinged a lot in Sentry chat by players that I come up against, if they happen to be in the Discord, and they usually all ask me the same thing. How do you move like that? How do you do that? I don't understand how you turn so fast. How are you guys pulling these 180 degrees? Is it because you have options? Is it because of your PC? What is going on? It is a mixed answer. But in general, no, it's not because I'm on PC. It's, though I do have sensitivity controls, I guess you could equate it to kind of like exponential controls versus Xbox, whose sensitivity, by the way, for those of you who think Xbox sensitivity is locked low, it's not. Xbox sensitivity is actually at its maximum reactivity. It's just straight up from 0 to 100. There is no in between. So there's no sensitivity difference there. Oh, have a good night, Flo. Thank you for dropping by. Will it be on PlayStation soon? Hopefully. They were gonna release it in July, but PlayStation's approval process is a bit more stringent than Xbox's. So they had to delay it in order to make sure they could meet PlayStation's requirements. So hopefully soon you'll see it. They still have it slated for this summer. I just don't know when. Summer, by the way, guys, I learned recently because I consider mid-August to the 1st of September as the end of summer. Summer actually technically ends on the 22nd of September, which is the fall equinox. That's your fun fact for the day. But long story short, hopefully before September, no promises though. Oh, today it was completely removed from the PlayStation Store. Ooh. Oof. That is ooferinos. I don't know what that means though, because I don't use PlayStation, but I imagine there's just no point in having it up there yet if they're not gonna release at this very instance. Anyways, let's talk settings before we get into anything else, because this is kind of important for different reasons than you might think. So, for you guys to understand, I do not run my mouse at the highest settings. I actually run my mouse at a fairly low DPI and medium sensitivity. So I use raw input, and there's two inputs, there's raw or tethered. This is relevant for PC players. Xbox, you guys don't have these kinds of switcheroos yet. You guys don't have advanced controller options. I apologize for that. Not that it's my fault, because I don't develop this game. But I understand the frustration of not being able to rebind some of the buttons on there, because I totally get it. However, this is for mouse and keyboard. Let's talk about mouse and keyboard. I do not fly with an inverted X or Y axis. Never understood that. Never will understand that. I haven't played Crimson Sky since I was a child, and that was the only time I ever had inverted controls. I don't think it's going to happen from that point on. I keep my reactivity at a 2.5 for both angles. This keeps the mouse from being too freaking sensitive for me to deal with, and keeps it from being not sensitive enough for me to turn. And then I keep my control type in raw. This is my personal decision. This is my personal decision because I have tremors. So I have shaky hands. And because I have shaky hands, Tethered messes with me, like, to no end. Because my hands can go left and right, very spazzy, Tethered just instantly locks to one direction and won't lock unless I go back the other direction and then go again in the other direction if I want to turn that way. So it doesn't make sense for me. However, a lot of people find Tethered really intuitive, and I'm sure a lot of players use Tethered more than raw. I use raw. And I'm going to show you guys the difference in just a second. But here are my keybinds. Not that this is going to matter super much to you, but I have a mouse with a little keypad on the side. It's a Corsair Scimitar, I think it was. And the buttons I use the number buttons to handle the abilities and the Drake Piercer, which is an object you guys will see in a moment. But I use shift and space for my break and boost. So shift for break, space to boost. This is going to become important for how I maneuver things. Whenever I say a phrase like shift break to turn, I'm just saying break to turn. And then boost, of course. But yeah, that's about all there is to it. Oh yeah, I got my ping button. If you guys didn't know ping system exists, it is there. I will show you what it looks like. And I got a look behind button, but I really rarely ever use it because it just doesn't serve a purpose for me. But yeah, that's about it. Let's get into it. We're gonna go into free flight first, so I can talk about the classes. Let's see here. I guess we'll start with Marauder. Fun fact, Marauder is my absolute worst class. It absolutely is. I suck at it for so many reasons. But namely, I just can't handle the abilities well. And so I just don't use it as effectively as I've seen some other players do. And so... Sorry, I keep losing my train of thought here. So, there's a couple different ways you can play Marauder, right? You can play it a little more defensively, you can play it a little more offensively. I'm going to show you how both work, because it's important to understanding how the abilities work. But first thing you need to understand about all these classes, right? And I do mean all of these. I mean all of them. Wingard, Phantom, Stormrazor, Marauder. They all move the same. I know the chonky boy feels slow, but he's just chonky, I promise. He's just as fast as the rest of them, and he can be just as wiggly. But all these dragons move the same way. They move the same speed, they boost the same way, they go up and down and all around the exact same way. Every maneuver you see me pull on one, I can pull on the other. No problem. What I suck at is using the abilities. So let's go into Frostbolts first. Fun times, fun times. Alright. So this is probably a good chance to go over the basics of movement. When I just let my dragon do whatever, it'll go straight at this speed, constantly. If I turn to the left and then I let it go, my mouse will go straight. That's raw input for you. If I had tethered input, my mouse would keep going to the left until I brought my mouse back to center. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second here. Swap it to tethered, so you guys can see. So my mouse is no longer moving, but you see that my dragon continues to turn. And the sensitivity inputs on PC are specifically for reactivity. So reactivity is how quickly your mouse will react to you moving it in any direction. And how far it'll go with that reaction, right? So, let me turn this back to raw. It's easier to see it when it's on raw, in my opinion, because you can see basically when my mouse starts moving and when it stops moving. Okay, so that's pretty good reactivity there, but if we turn it up to 5, right? And this is gonna drive me crazy for a minute, but bear with me here, right? We turn it up to 5 on both angles. Now every single movement, every single twitch, every single turn I try to make is gonna show up on this here. Like, I am barely twitching my mouse right now, and my little reticle is going everywhere, all around. But you can go over here, turn it back down. Just so you guys can see, this is all I use. My mouse DPI, I don't remember the specific number of it. I think it's like either 2,000 or 4,000, which is not very high, or definitely not the highest I've seen people using. That's a shield. You can see this is what boosting looks like. As long as you hold the spacebar down, you're gonna continue to boost until you run out of momentum. Now, you're not really going to be very often in positions that'll let you just keep boosting forward without interruption. And I say this because people are going to be chasing you with fireballs, and they're going to be trying to eat you and fight you all at the same time. But a lot of people have trouble with turning, and I see this in a lot of newbies. They kind of just like, oh, let's go flying. There's somebody behind me, I gotta turn away from them, and this is how they turn. And then they get frustrated because they could be going slow and they're not turning as fast as everybody else. And they're chasing somebody and they turn around on a dime and they're like, what? How did that happen? Well, I'm going to show you how it happened. You got to press your brakes. Yeah, you got to go slower to turn like that. So, and then you boost the other way. Ah. Of course, I crash into walls. Don't do that. Fly better than me. Don't aim to be just as good as me. Fly better than me, please. But if you boost, brake, boost again, brake, boost again, brake, boost. Of course, that means you use a lot of stamina, so you want to route for stamina. That's the second thing I don't see people doing a lot. Everybody will be flailing for the stamina, and nobody's routing over it. Granted, this game has a bit of lag when you're playing the actual matches, so sometimes your stamina won't charge over it. But for the most part, try to get used to flying over these glowing rifts. The tutorial covers this, however, it doesn't cover it effectively, so a lot of people just miss this point. When you're fighting, unless you're trying to break with somebody, like they're chasing you pretty hard and you're trying to just break that off, you generally want to always be flying over stamina in some way, shape, or form. That's why you see me flying over the water often. Wind tunnels restore your stamina, usually to full, but I've been having issues with that, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. And route over this constantly. You can see my pips charging underneath me. I'm gonna use all my stamina so you guys can see that a little more clearly. You'll see my pips charging at the bottom. Don't be fooled by the glowing light around your dragon. That does not mean you charge the full pip. That just means you're charging stamina in general. Early on, I kept getting fooled by that stupid animation, and I kept thinking, oh, I charged the pip. No, I didn't. I half charged it. Now I'm out of stamina. Now I'm dying. Going fast is the name of the game here. I've seen some people are like, oh, if I go slow, I live a little longer. You live a little longer because people overshoot you, and then they realize you're going slow, and they'll go your speed and kill you anyways. But generally speaking, try not to go very slow. Or if you're going very slow, do it only on occasion. Don't depend on it to save your life, right? Practice, and use the free flight map for this because it's pretty good with the narrow turns and such. But practice brake turning a lot through here. See how tight a turn you can pull off. And again, this is no different than what I used to play the game, like, since launch. I have been playing basically with these settings. I've been doing just fine. It's fine. You don't need a 10,000 DPI mouse and max sensitivity to get anywhere. You will do just fine. Basic boy sensitivity. Hi, Damascus. Oh, I'm streaming on Steam as well. That's okay. That's okay. They can watch me show off some dragons. But yeah, that about covers movement for the most part. Really picking up the tricks for movement, it just takes practice, right? So that's a wind blessing. It gives you unlimited stamina, and you can spam the heck out of it for about, I think, 30 seconds. Which is super useful if you have to do a lot of mid-air turns, and you don't want to be stuck in mid-air without any stamina. It's useful for getting away from people. But a lot of people think it's like, oh, I can get away from them in a straight line. No, you can't. Use it to do all sorts of turns, go around. Take an airlift. That usually breaks fireball tracking really good. Take another airlift, dive down, spin around, take another airlift. Like, fireball tracking is really sensitive in this game, so if you, literally, I've avoided tons of fireballs by just doing a downward spiral like this and then going back up. Not perfect, but it shakes off a good amount of them. Now, there's a couple other objects you need to keep in mind. These objects operate the same way whether you're a Marauder or a Wingard or a Storm Razor or a Phantom, and these include the Berserk Wraith and the Drake Piercer. The Drake Piercer is a one-shot frag. You kill whatever is targeted with the Drake Piercer, one shot, and unless that person brings a building between you and it at the last second, generally speaking, you're always gonna hit them. I've seen Drake Piercers chase people into wind tunnels to slaughter them. Drake Piercers don't mess around. In fact, I'll show you. Dead. He had full shields, didn't matter. He dead now. He dead meat. But you can also use the Drake Piercer to aim for the Berserk Wraith. I've shot the Berserk Wraith through some crazy narrow windows. It's a lot of fun to try and get. But in general, if you're far away from the Berserk Wraith but you have a Drake Piercer, you can just yoink. It's yours now. Now the Berserk Wraith is a superpower boost. You get superpowered flame breath, you get superpowered fireballs. I could spam the heck out of these right now. There's literally zero consequence to me using these. fireballs constantly. I can spam them however long I want. But Berserk Wraith also has a nice bonus of giving you super-powered fire breath. You don't get this with Wingard Berserk, for those of you that know or have experienced the difference, but you do get it with Berserk Wraith. I'm gonna show it real quick. Yeah. Oh god, Marauders are tanky. I could be misjudging it, maybe you don't, but I could almost swear that you do. Use my fireball spam. Alright. That's enough of that. So with Marauder here, you got two options. You got Frostbolts and you got Gust. And I can't show you Gust here because Gust is a defensive ability that requires you to be targeted by fireballs to be effectively used. However, Frostbolts does additional damage to shields. So you can see he had 4 shields, now he has 3. And he has 4 bars of life here. I'm gonna wait for my Frostbolts to recharge real quick. So you can see it only does 1 bar of health, but it does additional damage to shields. So you can use Frostbolts basically 2 ways. You can use them as a shield breaker, or you can use them as just a way to slow the enemy down, because when you hit an enemy that has no shields, with Frostbolts, they get iced. And that ice, I'm going to show you guys so you guys can see. You see how now he's coated in ice? It's hard to see because he's so tiny. There he is. That frost slows down their turning, and it slows them down, like quite literally. They can't go as fast as they normally would boosting, and they can't turn as well. So it's a great way to stop a really wiggly opponent, if you can land it anyways. Every dragon that you fly has 2 fireballs and a finite amount of fire breath. This amount of fire breath and the amount of fireballs is the same across all dragons. Doesn't matter if you're a Wingard, a Storm Raider, a Phantom, or a Marauder, you start with 2 fireballs and fire breath. Fire breath is nice, because if the enemy does not have shields, you can set them on fire. And how long they're on fire is directly proportional to how long they've been hit by the flame breath. So you're gonna have a few more ticks of fire damage the longer you've had them hit by flame breath, as long as they don't boost. The moment they boost, they are extinguished, they're not taking any more fire damage. By the way, the same goes with Frostbolts. If they have shields on, they're not taking any frost debuff. So if your Frostbolts hit their shield, but it doesn't hit their health, they're not going to be debuffed. So in general, if you're trying to apply a debuff, you're going to need to get through your enemy's shield. So that's Frostbolts in a nutshell. It's not a very difficult skill to use. It is kind of tricky to land on wigglier opponents, but it's fairly straightforward. Now the other ability that a Marauder has, and this is regardless of whatever ability you choose at the beginning of the game, is their Hunter's Mark. This tells me where an enemy is flying, and it also makes it so that I can only focus fire them, but I have infinite fireballs. But it's only for them. If I try to hit somebody else while I have Hunter's Mark active on a different player, I will be unable to. My fireballs will do nothing. They will fly into the nether and be sad because they were not fired to the target that I had marked. The blood trail is actually fairly long. It's hard to see here because this enemy is flying at default speed, essentially. But you can see that orange trail, that goes on for quite a distance. You can actually see it here. And so you can actually track where your enemy has been pretty well. And when an enemy is going faster, that trail will be longer, so you can track them a decent portion of the way across the map. It's nice if you're trying to keep track of a fairly difficult to follow opponent. You're trying to catch up to them or find them. It's also great for sniffing out phantoms and being able to attack them. But yeah, that's Hunter's Mark in a nutshell. The last ability that a Marauder has The last ability that a Marauder has is their passive. Every dragon has a passive and it's different. Every dragon has a different passive. For the Marauder specifically, it is a recharge passive. So every time you kill an enemy, your abilities recharge. You see, my abilities have effectively recharged. This is specific to Marauder, and as of now, it triggers on NPCs as well. So if you kill a gold carrier in Spoils of War, you recharge your abilities. And this is for both Gust and Frostbolt's Marauder. It's really nice to have for when you want to keep up that damage output, if you want to move from one enemy to another. Just keep in mind that Marauder is more of a sustain class, where you have to keep up after that enemy and deliver on the damage for it to be effective. However, he is also tanky because of that, so you can continue to hunt this guy, hopefully long enough to recharge your abilities, right? And then you can, for example, if you're trying to chase somebody and keep people off of you, you can use your Gust again. You can turn around and use your Hunter's Mark again. It's I've seen some really crazy good Marauders. I'm not one of them. You're probably not going to see expert Marauder gameplay tonight, but they are out there. Be pro. Be a pro Marauder. But that covers Marauder for the most part. Am I the only one who thinks the game should have a disable heads-up display option? You're not the only one, no. However, it is not a priority for the development team, so I really doubt we'll see that anytime soon. Anyhow, that does it for Marauder, really. Like I said, the only other ability is Gust. And the thing you need to know about Gust is that when you use it, you are literally untargetable for several seconds. I wouldn't say, 5 to 7, but I'd say definitely 3 to 4 seconds. It's quite impressively annoying. And it makes Marauders more tanky than I feel like they should be at the current level. But Marauder overall is a fairly balanced class, so I can't really complain in the long run. Work together to take it down, though, because it's tanky. Now, Wingard, my beloved. I play a lot of Wingard. If you've seen my profile, I have a lot of Wingard hours, and they have not decreased since this season has started. Because I am ridiculously addicted to Wingard gameplay. But Wingard has two abilities, Blast and Smoke, and we're going to cover both because there's some tips and tricks for Blast specifically that may help you be better with it in the match. Yes, Wingard, my favorite, my shameless favorite. So basically Wingard is a support class, right? She's got the same 2 fireballs and flame breath that a Marauder has, but she doesn't have the offensive abilities that a Marauder has. So she doesn't have any Frostbolts to debuff an opponent and slow them down. She doesn't have Gust to keep opponents off of her and eat fireballs for stamina. She does, however, have Smoke for some crowd control, and Blast, which is also a crowd control move to disorient and stun opponents. Now, the Smoke ability is not an active targeter, so you know how with the Frostbolt I have to aim at the enemy and then I can fire at him? It's not like that with Smoke. Smoke you release behind yourself in a trail. So you can see he's taking damage from that smoke flying through it. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, it's not a heavy damage dealer. You can see here he's lost 1 bar of shields out of the 4 he's had. But it can be a nice finisher for when you're chasing somebody, or it could be nice crowd control for when you want people off of a certain area. Now, the cool thing about Marauder Gust is that if you see that an area covered in Wingard smoke, you can come over with your Gust and cast it all away. You blow it all away with the Marauder's Gust ability. Which is a nice counter, because before Wingards didn't have almost any counter that wasn't Blast. But yeah, Smoke is a nice obscurant for you to be able to create kind of a safe shelter for you to hide in, right? The thing about Smoke, right, is you can fly through it just fine. You don't take any damage from it. Your opponents do, though. And on top of that damage, they also get their targeting decreased. So they can't target you as easily. You can break targeting for anybody with flame breath and certain fireballs. It's just really nice support move. And in terms of crowd control, that would be, for example, in Hunavot Lake, just as a general, which is what this map is. In Hunavot Lake, this cave is a favorite for phantoms to mine up. So you can come over here and you can just put some smoke down whenever you see people flying through here, right? And for, I think, about 15 to 20 seconds, they have to fly through that if they want to put down their mines and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's fairly straightforward crowd control, self-defense. You can use it if somebody's chasing you to break targeting and cause damage at the same time. I use it sometimes when I'm chasing somebody because I know they're going to turn around and try to go behind me. They'd have to fly through the smoke and take more damage, and I've gotten my fair share of kills just by doing that. Now, the main move that Wingard has is the Salvation Surge, which is when you fly to an ally and you give them shields. Currently, I don't know if this is a bug or not. Some people say it is, some people say it isn't. I really am not in a place to say. It's not how it used to work. But if two Wingards shield the same ally, both shields break and for that ally, and the ally doesn't get a heal buff. So I'll show you guys right here. So I gave him a shield. You can also see I have shields. I have that dark blue shield on the bottom left. This shield will last for, I think upwards to 10 seconds. 10 to 15 seconds. And it'll grant 4 HP per tick, essentially. So, as long as that dark blue shield exists, that's 4 HP they're gaining per tick. You can stop their HP gain by breaking that shield. So a lot of times if I see somebody that shielded the enemy in front of me, unless I literally cannot pump out any more fireballs or fire breath fast enough, I tend to try and break that Wingard shield. Even if they pick up another shield after that, that's okay. If I break that Wingard shield, I know they're not regenerating health anymore. So again, and you can be really far away when you do this too. Here, I'll show you. The only downside of this is that it's really finicky with its targeting. I've run into my fair share of walls. I've stopped in midair. Just about anything can break Salvation Surge targeting, in my opinion, but you can, as long as you can target your ally, you can fly over to them and give them a shield. It's very nice. I like it. It's like pocket healer vibes. But yes, how to increase DPS on a Wingard? Well, the long story short of it is that you can't. There's only so much DPS the Wingard can put out, and a lot of that DPS is really dependent on your enemy, right? So, for example, while a Marauder can do sustain with their Hunter's Mark and just shoot fireballs constantly, a Wingard can't do that. She's got 2 fireballs and a finite amount of flame breath, and even if she focuses one person, at some point she's gonna get to the point, right, where she's just constantly firing one fireball. And honestly, in higher tier play, your opponents are wiggling so much that one fireball every second is nowhere near enough to take them down in any amount of time, right? Or at least before they get shielded. So really it just comes to a combination of your playstyle, right? Let's say I'm chasing somebody into the caves. Alright, I know they're gonna pull a hairpin turn behind me, so I put down smoke. I use my 2 fireballs, I use flame breath to knock their health down, right? And then they'll either fly through the smoke and die, hopefully, or they'll fly forward and I'll still get to kill them because they have to fly forward. So it's just, you know, playing your cards right, getting to know what your opponent's gonna do. And don't worry, I'm gonna play a couple games so you guys can see some of these classes in action as well. But in general, what I've found to be the highest DPS class, and this is for my own personal experience, is the Phantom. And we will be talking about the Phantom after Wingard. But before that, I'm gonna talk about Blast. Because a lot of you guys don't use it right, and it makes me angry. So, Wingard has a secondary move called Blast. Wingard Blast and Phantom can also use Blast. But essentially, Blast is a disorienting move that moves an enemy out of the way, causes damage, and slows them down too. You can pin an enemy down to the ground and they won't be able to fly anywhere for a hot minute, even if they use stamina. I know this because I've been blasted into the earth more times than I can count. And nothing triggers me more than, like, minding my own business and suddenly getting blasted out of the sky. But one thing you gotta understand about blast is that you time its detonation. Unless it hits a wall, or it falls down and hits the ground, you can detonate it whenever you want. You can detonate it right here. You can detonate it as far away as possible. And I'll show you what that looks like. What I see a lot of newbies doing, right? What I see a lot of newbies doing is that they'll just launch the blast and they won't do anything with it. They'll either know enough that it hits something and it'll trigger, so they'll aim at a wall, or they'll just shoot it forward and hope it hits somebody, I guess. But a lot of people don't recognize that you can detonate it, so you'll see what the blast projectile looks like in just a second here. There it is. And they just launch it, and they just let it fly forward. And you can see that coming a mile away. So you usually pretty easily avoid it. But you can detonate it whenever you want, and additionally on top of that, you can counter it. So if you see a blast coming your way, and you will see it coming your way because it'll show up as a red orb on your screen coming in your direction, you can press your brakes. Time your brakes to hit when the blast is about to hit you, or you're in its epicenter, I guess. And you will decrease that blast's effectiveness by 66%. So you won't get moved that much, and you won't get hit as hard. You can see I kind of shoved him out of the way, but did you also see there was a little orange crescent when the blast was over him? That orange crescent lets you know how close that blast is to that player. So once it turns white, like red hot white, that means they are dead center of that blast. But if it's orange or yellow or red, that means they're not as close. So white, yellow, orange, red in terms of distance and how far they are. I'm going to show you guys again so you guys can see what that looks like. Look at that enemy. It's going to be around the enemy reticle. Ready? You saw it? Good. That's going to be how you can tell when an enemy is in the blast reticle. And it'll show up no matter how many enemies are in there, right? So you can tell, roughly speaking, how many people you can hit with blast by how many of those little orange crescents show up. And it's a great way for you to tell distance. I like to use Wingard Blast when I want to be a little more aggressive in my playstyle. Smoke is not super aggressive, it is a passive crowd control. Blast is more directed. I can control when I detonate my blast, I can control where the blast is going in terms of forward direction, right? So I can, generally speaking, be able to do more centralized damage. And it's a way of increasing DPS for Wingard and focusing on an enemy. Or clearing out space and smoke, because blast clears smokes. So on and so forth. Clearing people away from your friend. Great support move. But yeah, that's Wingard in a nutshell. We're gonna go into Phantom now. Which, in my opinion, is the heaviest DPS class. As far as Wingard's passive goes, I can't show it to you because of similar reasons to Marauder's Gust, right? So Wingard's passive is called Skeldian Resolve, and the passive basically just decreases the timer on any debuff for any negative ailment in the game on them specifically. If they get hit by Blast, they won't get hit as hard as other classes. If they get hit by Hunter's Mark, it won't last nearly as long on them as it does on any other class. If they get hit by Frostbolts, that debuff will go away in no time flat. Basically, any negative move or ailment on them just doesn't last as long. It's quite nice. Now, Phantom, we're going to use Mind Phantom because Blast is fairly straightforward. Phantom is the weakest class in terms of health. Not all classes have the same amount of health. Marauder has the most health with 125 HP. And Phantom has the least health with 75 HP. Now, every fireball does 25 damage. So that means basically 3 fireballs and you're dead. You're gone. However, it has arguably some of the strongest tools in the game. And I use Phantom a lot when I just want to wreck people. And I do it consistently. Now, the main thing you gotta keep in mind about Phantom is that you're not meant for prolonged skirmishes in the sky, right? So you're not gonna be out here with the Marauder and his freaking 4 shields going around toe-to-toe with him, mano-y-mano, and expecting to survive. That's not what you're meant to do. You're meant to be sneaky. You take pot shots, you try to finish it quickly, and then you get the hell out of there. His passive is much more direct than Marauder or Wingard. His passive is Shield Breaker. He does additional damage to shields. So, for example, if the shields took 2 fireballs for a Marauder to break, it would generally speaking take 1 fireball for a Phantom to break. As a very rough example. It does not work that way at all. I think it's like a 35% damage boost. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the specific numerics. But it does additional damage to shields. That means you can get to their health bar a lot quicker. They can always pick up more shields, but they can't, generally speaking, pick up more health unless they've got a Wingard on their back, right? So, here, I'll show you guys. Bye. You can see there, he lost a bar and a half of shield. There goes another bar and a half. And there goes the last of his shields. And then I just do regular damage. In terms of fireball, I do 25 damage. But you get the point. He breaks shields like nobody's business. It's great. I love it. Because it's so often in higher tier play, you run into players that really know how to route shields, and you need to get through those shields as quick as possible. Now, the main ability he has that is currently unique to him is his mine ability. So you stick a mine on the wall, you stick another mine on the wall, and they're traps. So if somebody flies through this glowy area, right, they're gonna get hit. It's gonna blow up, it's gonna hit them, and it's gonna suck. But more than that, there's a couple of things that make it a little more scary right now. And there's, that's a double explosion bug and the detonation bug. So because of the lag on the servers, sometimes you might be skirting the very edge of a mine and you'll still get hit by it. That's not your fault, it's just that the server thinks you're closer to the mine than you actually are. It sucks. It's happened to me. It's not fun. But the double explosion bug is by far worse. So, what you can do to counter a mine is you can shoot it. You can defuse it. I can't show you that right here because they're my mines. I can't defuse my own mines. But at least I don't detonate them either, so that's a plus. But you can shoot them. That little spiky ball, there's going to be a reticle around it. You can shoot it to disarm it, and the mine will explode. Keep in mind, when you defuse the mine, it explodes. It literally, like, it explodes and it's a damaging explosion. It's not an explosion of, I'm no longer effective. It's an explosion of, I can still hurt you. And their detonation circle becomes larger when it explodes. So even if you're at this edge here, you see how I'm not anywhere in the smoke? If I were to detonate the mine right now, I would still get hit by it. Because the detonation circle would be bigger because I diffused it versus just eating it like a regular person. So what ends up happening, and it's happened to me because I tend to shoot on instinct, is you'll shoot a mine while you're flying forward expecting it to detonate without any effect, and what'll happen is, because of lag, you'll still hit the detonation circle, so it will detonate like you triggered it, and you'll still have the diffusing explosion on top of that, so you'll get hit by 2 explosions at the same time, and generally speaking, it's an instant kill. You can survive it with shields. If you have Wingard shields on, for example, it'll eat your shields first, and then it'll eat a good chunk of your health, but you'll live, unless there's a second mine there that you didn't see. It happens to me so frequently that I've given up on defusing them, and if I'm just that close to a mine, I'll just eat it. It's safer for me to eat it than blow myself up twice. But generally speaking, that shouldn't happen, and hopefully that'll be fixed, or in some way at least mitigated so it doesn't happen quite as often. But it is part of what makes Phantom so stupidly broken. At least Mine Phantom. I don't play a lot of Mine Phantoms, so I can't really comment too much on mine play because it is dependent on people running into your traps. But it does hurt. It really does. Now, the other thing that Phantom can do is he can go invisible. And this is where a lot of you get hung up on. A lot of you don't realize that invisibility doesn't mean that you'll get off scot-free. It used to be in the beginning of the game's launch that when you went invisible, you were untargetable by anything at all. A Marauder could have you hunter's marked and you could do nothing about it. It didn't make for great counterplay, and it made it so that the only really good counters to a Phantom were another Phantom. It just really killed class diversity. But now, the way that invisibility works is that when you go invisible, if enemies are close enough to you, they can see you and they can fire at you and use flame breath on you. So you gotta be sneaky. You gotta be quick. And a lot of you are like, well, I can go invisible and they'll still find me. Why do they always find me? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, because they can tell where you're gonna need to go to stay alive, right? So if I'm getting attacked and I'm like, oh, I need to get some shields, and I go invisible, it's not that hard to look at the nearest shield and go, he's probably gonna go for that, and chase him there. It's a lot of guesswork, but if you wiggle enough, you can escape them. So what I do, generally speaking, is if I need a shield, I'm not gonna fly straight to the first shield I need. Somebody's chasing me, I need a shield, I need to get out of here. So I go invisible, go up an airlift, turn around, go in a different direction, then go back, go in a different direction. There's a shield, I'll pick that one up instead, and move on with my life. That's when using invisibility as an escape. You gotta keep in mind, you can't do damage in invisibility without losing the cloak. So if you're gonna do that, be aware of what you're doing. Be able to plan for that and try to position yourself in a way where you can take advantage of that. Which is the other use for invisibility. Sneak attacks. Phantom is a burst damage dealer. He does a lot of burst damage. This means that his Shroud Fireball, which is the fireball he does when he's getting out of invisibility, does the most damage. You see, with his Shield Breaker passive, I took over 2 bars of his shield with that. Most people, in the games, most people you run into are only gonna have 2 shields, not 4. I don't know why this bot has 4 on him, but most people are gonna have 2 shields. And the thing you can do with Mine Phantom especially is if you're chasing them, right? You can toss a mine in front of them, and they'll run into that mine and die, or they'll try to shoot forward and they'll hit the mine and it'll explode and they'll die. It's a really sneaky way to get a kill, but it works. Now, the other thing you gotta keep in mind is, how do enemies see you? How can you tell when an enemy can see you when you're invisible? I'm gonna show you. When you're visible, enemies have that eye over them, and if you fly close to them, you see that eye pulsing red? That means that the enemy can now see me. You can see it at the edge of the screen as well, so if I fly forward and I go invisible, I'll see eye reticles wherever there's an enemy that I'm in line of sight of. I'll see the eye reticle and it'll let me know how far are you from the enemy. The closer you are to the enemy, the redder it'll get. The moment it starts pulsing, that's when you're visible. Now, it'll pulse whether you're behind somebody or in front of them. It's just as long as you're in hitting distance of them that you'll see that pulsing icon. So see, you can see it. Now he can't see me. Now I'm farther away, so the reticle is smaller. He can't see me. Now I'm out of line of sight, so he can't see me at all. Keep that in mind when you're flying away or trying to get away from somebody. You're going to see some of that gameplay soon, but just in general, that's the way it works. Now, the other version of Phantom is Blast Phantom, and it's fairly straightforward. Just like Wingard, Blast works the same way. You can disorient somebody, stun them, shock them to the ground, crush them against the wall, give them a little bit of wall damage on top of that blast for that hurt pride. And just, he also gets Shield Breaker passive on Blast. Any damage that Phantom does has Shield Breaker passive, so if it's Flame Breath, Fireball, Shroud Fireball, Mine, Blast, doesn't matter. It all has Shield Breaker passive, so if there's a shield there, it's gonna take more damage. That's basically how Phantom works. Now, Storm Razor is the one that some people have been struggling with. It is the newest class. My last video did not have any tips on this guy because he didn't exist then. But we're gonna talk about him. We're gonna start with Blinding Wave. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Blinding Wave in very negative ways. Because I sure am. If you've seen any of my past videos since Stormrazor came out, you probably see me get blinded more than once. It is a disorienting experience, and not at all fun. I'm not going to show you what that looks like in free flight. I don't think I would want to, even if I could, because that's just mean. But essentially what happens for my more photosensitive people is you get flash banged, essentially. The screen turns white, you get a really loud ringing noise, which is super annoying, and it stays that way for a few seconds. What's really cool about it, though, is you see this blue reticle over the enemy here? That lets you know the enemy can get hit by Blinding Wave if it were to launch right now. However, when you use Blinding Wave, it's not an immediate launch, right? So even if he's in the blue reticle now, if he were flying past me and I fired because I saw him in the blue reticle, and he flew past me, within the next second he wouldn't get hit by it. Because it has a bit of a charge up. It's a bit slower. Not as slow as his main ability, but it is a bit slower. So from my perspective, this is what Blinding Wave looks like. We get that really loud thunder effect, and we get a forward-facing blue AoE attack. And it is an AoE attack. If there were several enemies in front of me, they would all get hit by this move and all get blinded. It does not matter if you have a shield or not. You're getting blinded, by the way, which is the main debuff of this. Same thing with his main move, I believe, though I'm not totally positive. I believe regardless of whether you have shields or not, his main move will also lock you down. What's his main move? I'm glad you asked. He has this axe throwing skill. It's a bit slow, and it is speed dependent, just like your fireballs. So if you're flying slowly, it's gonna go forward very slowly. And if you're flying quickly, it's still gonna go forward pretty slowly because it's a slower projectile than fireballs. And what happens when you toss this projectile at an enemy is that if it hits them, not only does it do a good deal of damage, it locks down their stamina for several seconds. I'm not talking about half their stamina, all of their stamina. Doesn't matter if they have 4 pips of stamina, they can't use it for the next few seconds, so they essentially become sitting ducks. However, the downside of this move is that even though it's slower, it can technically track better, it's so slow that it's really easy to dodge. So you gotta time it really well to land it on somebody, especially in higher tier play. When you do, though, you do get Chain Lightning, which is what the move is called now that I think about it. It is Chain Lightning, so you see that Berserk Wraith get hit in a second. Oh, I guess they changed the range of that. Never mind. But you saw how he looked all electrified for a second there? You can see I took a bar of his shields with that. So Blinding Wave only does 1 bar of shields. The axe throw move, which is Chain Lightning, only does 1 bar of shields. But when you land it, the Chain Lightning bounces between targets and does a considerable amount of damage. It hits pretty hard for the move that it is, and it hits several enemies at once. So its real appeal is that it's an AoE move, just like your Blinding Wave. So yeah, I took a bar of his health there, and oh, I hit the Berserk Wraith that time. You can see the Berserk Wraith has lost some HP over there, and he's all electrocuted. And he took a little bit over a bar of health with that move, so it hits pretty hard. There's a damaged Berserk Wraith. But you can use Chain Lightning on Spoils of War as well against gold carriers. The only downside is, as of now, there's kind of a bug. I'm not sure if it's a memory overflow bug or if it's a targeting bug. But when you use Chain Lightning on a gold carrier, there's a really good chance you're gonna crash your game. I know it because it's happened to me several times. Because I personally think it has to do with how the targeting works. I don't know the specifics of how the bug works. But essentially, you hit the gold carrier, you see your Chain Lightning hit like 6 other gold carriers at the same time, and then your game just crashes. Fun times. So use it at your own risk. It's a little buggy, but it is pretty powerful. The nice thing about using it against gold carriers, right? is that it'll still hit all the enemies in the area. So if you have a... Ooh, that one didn't track. Okay. If you have an opponent that you can't really hit because he's so wiggly, just aim at a gold carrier and you'll hit him with that chain lightning pretty good. Even if you can't see him, which is kind of a little ridiculous. But you may have noticed that the move itself has a charge up time. As you saw with both Blinding Wave and the axe throw, the chain lightning, neither move takes effect immediately. There's a distance for the move to cross itself, and for the axe throw, that was a full 2 seconds before the axe actually got thrown. So it gives the opponent time to, for example, fly past you, or avoid the axe throw, or so on and so forth. Which can be really irritating. It also makes the axe throw hard to land in general, because they can see it coming, they can hear it coming, they can dodge it pretty easily, so kind of balances itself out. Otherwise it's a pretty powerful move. Now the passive that the Stormrazor has, much like Gust and much like Skeldy and Resolve, I can't really show it to you because it requires you to be shot at. But you see that little lightning symbol next to my stamina pips on the left? That's just letting me know, hey, your passive is available. If somebody were to shoot me right now, somebody were to shoot a fireball at me, it would get destroyed when it got close to me. That's the passive. It destroys a fireball, I think, every 20 seconds. Don't quote me on that. But since the Stormrazor doesn't have any disengage abilities otherwise, I think it's a really good trade-off. It makes it so that you definitely have to fight harder for your kills. And dodge a little harder, but it gives you a little bit of leeway. Sometimes if there's multiple fireballs coming your way and they're coming at around the same speed, or they're at the same distance, your passive will eliminate 2 or even 3 of them at the same time. But as a general rule of thumb, it will only remove 1 at a time, and then you're fair game for the next 10 to 15 seconds. So that about covers... Oh wait! The other ability that a Stormrazor has is Frostbolts, like Marauder. You guys already saw how that works, so I'm not really gonna give you a playthrough of what that's like. But if you're trying to consider why you would use Frostbolts on a Stormrazor, consider what kind of damage you want to deal. So Frostbolts is a debuff and a hunting move. It's a damage dealer. So you can use it to debuff somebody so you can close in for the kill. Or maybe you want to slow them down so you can hit them easier with the axe throw. Or maybe you just want to deal more focused damage than an AoE move like Blinding Wave. Whatever the case might be, Frostbolt Stormrazor, in my opinion, is more or less what you'd use for more focused damage, if you're trying to focus an enemy down or just slow them down in general. But yeah, that's enough of me lecturing. How long has that been? Like an hour? An hour, almost to the dot. That's enough of me lecturing. Why don't we get into some gameplay so you guys can see what that looks like. I'm gonna try to play a match with each of the 4 classes. I cannot guarantee the quality of the matches because matchmaking is not great right now. But I will do my best to show you how some of that works. Let's go back to the main menu. And just as a reminder, I have not changed my control settings. This is what I've been using since I've started the game. These are my current stats. They don't mean much technically because of just the way matchmaking works right now. However, I want you to note how much time I've had on each class. And I want you to understand something about this. It's not about like showing off the time or anything like that. I have had a lot of people be frustrated with me because they can't mimic the tips that I give them, or they can't understand how I managed to do this or that, or how I managed to avoid this angle or fly through these loopholes. It really comes down to practice. Practice, practice, practice. I have over 300 hours of active game time because this timer here This doesn't count menu time. This counts active in-game time. So I literally have 133 hours playing Wingard in-game, in matches. And it's taken me all 133 hours of that to polish what I have. And I still am not the best player of the game. I don't know if anybody can really definitively claim that title, but it was that practice that let me get better at a class. Phantom used to be my absolute worst class. Now Marauder is, but Phantom used to be my worst class. Stormrazor is new, so I don't have as much playtime on him as the other ones, but you get the idea. I'm not the best at Stormrazor, but why would I be? I only have 18 hours on him. Not the best at Marauder, but why would I be? I literally have half the hours on him than I do on the other two classes up here. Just try to take it easy on yourself, and keep in mind that matchmaking is not great. You're going to end up against opponents that have played the game for hundreds of hours. That maybe you've only played 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 20 hours, 40 hours. It doesn't matter. You're gonna end up in situations where things kind of seem obscenely difficult. And they are obscenely difficult, because I've been in those situations too. But you'll get better. You'll get better. And one of the benefits of... Oh, survival... This is a perfect one to use. Survival and Skirmish are two of the game modes I recommend the most when you want to polish your skills. Now, when you're in higher tier play in Skirmish, it really just becomes a game of airlift hopping with Wingards and Marauders. It's not very fun. But when you're starting out, it can be a lot of fun. It's a great way to polish your skills because it's a small map. It teaches you how to dodge things. It teaches you how to use your movement. I don't think 5 rookie matches, which is all that beginning players get, is enough to get used to the game, but it's what you're given, unfortunately. And Skirmish is kind of the next step up from that, even if it's only available a couple days of the week. Survival is another good one, and hopefully we'll end up in a survival match here. But survival teaches you to value your teammates, teaches you to use your teamwork, because if you don't support your teammates, you're not gonna last long in that game mode. You're not gonna win. If your teammates are dying and you don't pick up their souls and revive them, you're not gonna have teammates. Simple as that. If you see somebody harassing your teammate, you don't help them, that's another time they've died. That's a shorter soul timer for them. So it teaches you to, importantly, protect your teammates and also learn teamwork skills for your team composition. Now, like I said, matchmaking is kind of tilted right now. I don't know if we're going to be facing crazy good players. I don't know if we're going to be facing newbies. And you'll be able to tell the difference really quickly. Because if it's newbies, sorry not sorry, but I'm going to kill all of you. But if it's top players, more than likely I'll recognize them. And I'll realize this is going to be really spicy. And it's not going to be in a fun way, right? But, Skirmish, great for one-on-one training, great for getting used to the controls, for practicing using abilities. Survival, great for practicing teamwork. Find yourself a friend, find yourself 2 buddies, maybe if you can, find yourself 3 buddies. Go in as a squad and learn to fly together, and I guarantee you, you will up your success rates in the game, because the game is very, very heavily squad dependent. So, the other game mode you'll find in Arena currently is Gates of Fire. I love Gates of Fire. If you've been on my channel for any length of time, you'll know I love Gates of Fire. I just love picking up that flag and racing through all the gates as fast as possible. Just love yoinking it. But the one thing that's good at, right, is not only is it good for teaching you how to support your teammates, it's also good for teaching you how to dodge! Because if you're carrying that flag, everybody wants to kill you! Hey, we found a survival match, let's see who we're fighting. I don't recognize any of these people, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna play Marauder. It is my worst class. You guys are gonna see me fail extraordinarily hard at this class. But we're gonna give it a shot. Now I want you to keep in mind that all the movement for these dragons is the same. You see my teammates? There's a Marauder, a Phantom, and a Stormraiser. Doesn't matter. We all move the same way. Well, it looks like he's swapping. He's gonna be a Wingard. Don't let me down! Don't let me down! Now pay attention, because free flight is it's a different beast than an actual match, right? You're gonna have people shooting at you, there's gonna be a lot of stimulus. Don't worry about processing all that stimulus all at once. You're gonna get better at it with time. You're gonna recognize what you need to pay attention to and what you can't. But the name of the game in survival is, as you might have guessed, to survive. So we gotta eliminate the other two teams. That means you're facing 8 enemies instead of just 6. Or even instead of just 3. Alright, we lost somebody, we gotta go pick him up. And... oh, he got him. Alright, we good. Oh, I fought that guy earlier. Hey! Buddy! He slowed down, he didn't have any stam left. Woo! As you can see, as long as you bring your allies back, you can just continuously revive them. But if you ignore them, well, they're gonna stay dead. Like Red already lost one. Now the name of the game on survival, right? Like I mentioned, it is survival. However, if you cannot eliminate the team, as long as they have fewer members than you by the end of the match, you still win. So you see how Purple has 4 members currently, and we have 4 members. If we don't eliminate one of their members, we're gonna go into sudden death. Okay, missing a red somewhere. Oh, somebody got picked up. You got picked up. The other one. That's it. Grab him. Grab him. Oh, you missed. Gunfire Legion is gone. Means I can focus on Iron Legion. Back here. In the heck did he die? I got him. Frickin' Solo. Come here. Oh, he did. He did. Gone. One more. There we go. That is the Marauder, or at least Frostbolt's Marauder in a nutshell. Oh, the rocks are gone. Hi Simba, thank you for the compliment. There are actually people a lot scarier than me, but I appreciate it. That was just one of those games where I mentioned, you know, you're either gonna get with newbies or you're gonna get with veterans. There's very little in between. We're gonna hop into survival again, and this time I'm gonna run Wingard, which is what I usually run. But just so you guys can see. I'll even run Blast Wingard. I usually run Smoke Wingard, but I'll run Blast. If you guys want to see me run a specific combo for Phantom or Storm Razor, let me know, and I'm happy to show that too. We're gonna be doing a match with every class so you guys can see that they all function essentially, in movement-wise, the same way. But also so you guys can see just how playstyles can change depending on what you're playing. Here we go. No. Don't aim to be as good as me. Aim to be better. Remember. I want to see you guys pulling crazy flips and stunts that I couldn't even dream of. Alright, we'll do Wingard. Hello, Silver Eyes! I see you! And Shadrick. This one's gonna be spicier. I don't recognize anybody else. Oh, Twisted Herbals I recognize. Hello! Hello, buddy! Oh, somebody just... Oh, never mind. I thought somebody just disconnected. Okay. We got a lot of Wingards. That's a lot of smoke. You guys gonna be okay there? Thank you for the follow! go get him. Oh my goodness. You are flying at a snail's pace. Please. Rise, are you okay? Ah! I can't fly either, it's okay. Oh, there goes one of my buddies. I gotta go get him. I got you, buddy. I got you. Oh. I lost another buddy. I got you, buddy. Oh, I lost another buddy. They're newer players, it's okay. I've been murdered! Let's see if they actually pick me up. Oh no! He's just gonna let me die. Ripperinos. What are you doing, my friend? And that's how it goes sometimes. This is what I mean. If you don't help your teammates, you're not gonna have a team to help you. But we don't have to stick around for this. We can quit. And yeah, there's a warning that basically says, hey, your team is still fighting. They can still potentially win this if you stay. Would you prefer just staying? And generally speaking, no. I'm okay with missing out on that. But we're gonna hop right into the next one. And we'll do some phantom play. Some phantom play. Some spooky phantom play. Hey, Seizure Salad! Hello! Hello, friend! I think I also know that recoils, but I'm not sure. These are some of the people I ran into the last match. Oh, I see you! Hey! Alright, what was I gonna do? Oh yeah, Phantom. I like to use Phantom Blast. I'm not very good with mines. I know some people that are scary good with mines. But mines always felt really cheap to me. So I just got really into using Blast. I'm not good at trapping people, but I am good at blasting them out of the way. It's time to play Will My Teammates Actually Support Me? Oh, they're just all gonna die early if this wasn't gonna happen. Come back here. Come back here. Whoop, I'm out of stam. Whee! 2 players remaining. Oh, really? Now it's about to be more players. Toasted my buns! He's toasting them! Ah! Well, nothing left to it but to use it. Me! I'm dead. Oh! Somebody actually picked me up? He did, though. This guy did, too. I see you over there advertising Colgate. There's like no one else on. Yeah, pretty much. Alright, we got one more class to work through, the Storm Razor. And then we'll call it a night. And remember, guys, a lot of this is just, you know, just practice. Just go for it. You guys can see that, you know, I don't win everything. I don't lose everything. You know, it's a mixed bag. Got some of my dragons. Carver. I got Snowy Carver and I've got non-Snowy Carver. Got the Fader. Hey Jaded, we did some schooling for like the first hour. Now I'm just doing some gameplay. This one is from the Xbox release pack, Crud's Slaglands. So if you haven't gotten it, you can get it as an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate perk. And yes, you can get this on the PC version of Xbox app, as well as the actual Xbox app on your Xbox One. This is the pretty boy that is included in there. I've got a couple other ones that were from, that as far as I'm aware are no longer obtainable. This one was from when Xbox One X and One S released. This is Sarkin Backwaters. It's pretty cool. And this one here, this one was from beta. So if you played the beta, this is the skin you got as a reward for being a beta player. He's nifty. I like him. This one is from the first winter event. Joldir, the Silvered Shade. Of course, I got some I haven't collected yet. That's okay. Well, we got a match! We got a match, let's go! I think I know Jazzy Jasmine and Weeping Delta. Not totally positive though, so don't quote me on that. I don't recognize anybody else though. Hi, Luna. Hello, Pupper. Where's my good Pupper? Huh? He never lets me get a stream by her without getting pets. Luna is my Scotty dog. He is my best friend. You a good pupper? Puppy cam when? I don't really have the time or space to set that up. But I appreciate the Luna love. She is the best pupper. Let's get him! That's one kill. Oh, lost a buddy. Gonna go get him. So, one of the things you gotta keep in mind is the more you die... Where are you going, buddy? Oh. It's okay, you can wait for a minute while I pick this up. Excuse me, sir. I got places to be. The more times you die, the shorter your timer becomes until you can no longer... Essentially, you can no longer be rescued. Like, your timer literally becomes 1 second, and if they don't pick you up in that 1 second, you're gone. You're dead. Dude, put the soul in... Oh. Why? Okay, fine. Well, the purple guys are not picking up their people, so... And there we go, we've just been flashbanged. Got one. Got two. And got three. That's generally how matches go. You either win them or you lose them, and occasionally you might get a spicy one where it's back and forth, really crazy like. Alright, that about covers Sentry gameplay for now. If you've got any questions, don't be afraid to leave them on my YouTube comments. I will be posting this video later on, probably within this week, as long as I remember to. But it will be up on YouTube. Thank you for everybody that joined in and asked different questions, or even just kept me company. I appreciate everybody that visits and says hello. I hope to see you guys around the game. Don't be afraid to invite me if you see me, or say hello. Just say, hey, I saw you. I really enjoy it when people reach out and talk. Anyways, have a good night, guys. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!